welcome back to another vlog. This is Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Season 2, Episode 19, Heinous, and All Bets Are Off. Princess Marco's back. I'm, really back. Fully dressed and everything. And once again, they try to shove her into the conformity box, but she refuses to stay, and I just love it. I love it. I wish they would just come out and say it. But, I get Disney is a little, and it's not like we really have a ton of trans cartoon characters anyway. That's kind of seen as next level, There's no particular reason why. But there's more resistance to that and less acceptance for it than there is even for gay and lesbian characters, which are only really starting to show up enough that they're still a pretty big deal when they do. So to have even these kinds of hints at a character being trans is really cool, and I really like it. And I wish I'd had something like that as a kid. Anyway. So yeah, the first part was Heinous, which is where Princess Marco was back. I do enjoy when Ms. Heinous and... what's her butler's name? It's not Jeremiah, is it? I might be getting that confused with Jeremy in the second segment. Anyway, whatever his name is, I like that he has a Princess Marco doll and is fond of her, though his implied attraction to her is kinda creepy. We are talking about a teenager here, and a young teenager, 14, 15. Maybe not even that old. Aren't they still in middle school? Anyway, that's a little creepy, but it's also a nice, one more way in which Miss Heinous' rigid world is collapsing in on her, as it inherently must. Rigid structures don't survive, because to be rigid is inherently to be brittle. There's this book, I can't remember the title or the author's name, it's been a couple decades since I saw it. A friend of mine in high school had it. And it was really cool. It looked at the ways in which human technology and natural, evolution have tackled the same problems in different ways. And that there are distinct tendencies that differ between the two. And one of them is that our creations tend to be rigid and brittle for things like skyscrapers, stuff that has to withstand wind and weather and earthquakes and that kind of thing. We tend to go for making it very rigid so that it doesn't get affected, essentially. It pushes back against the wind, for instance. Whereas if you look at something like even a tree, which under normal circumstances seems pretty rigid, is a lot more flexible than a steel beam. Wood is a much more flexible material. I recall building a shed, and a friend of my brother's who actually worked in construction came over helping us one day, and he laughed at how incredibly, like, painstakingly precise and careful we were being with measuring and cutting, because according to him, like, little differences of a 16th of an inch there, here, 16th of an inch there, don't matter, because the weight of the building will bend the wood to what you need it to be anyway. We of course did not listen, but that's just kind of an example that, in nature things are, tend to be more flexible. And the analogy I'm going for here is that the same is true for our social structures. These kind of artificial, rigid, hierarchical structures we built, these strict rules that, you must live like X, Y, and Z, they're inherently incapable of dealing with disruption. They will fall apart. And it's a good thing, too, because they suck. Because most people don't fit into them. And we saw that with the princesses back in season 1, and we see it again now. I love the way the school has changed, the way it's become a much more vibrant place, much more alive, more like a colony than a prison. And not a colony in the sense of, colonialism, but just in the sense of, like, this community that has come together of people from outside. Not in the sense of by shoving other people out. Though, I'm not sure, is St. Olga's in Muni? Because given what we know about Muni, there's some pretty nasty colonialist shit going on there. Anyway, I noticed what looked distinctly like a young teen, like, slightly punkier take on Princess Bubblegum, and blowing a bubble. So that was a cute little nod. But yeah, mostly I was just happy to see Marco back in a dress with her hair up. Because, the confused teenager who didn't understand that she was a woman in me responds very strongly to that. Anyway, all belts are off. It was fairly predictable, but fun nonsense. Of course, Marco learns his lesson about not expecting, on the one hand, yeah, the teacher has the right to name whoever he wants, and Marco shouldn't have reacted like that. But on the other, fairness is a thing, and it is blatantly unfair. That was fairly obvious that he would learn at least the first half of that. I'm glad he learned both. It was really obvious that it was, what Jeremy brings to the dojo is money, because of course it is. The figure of the Grand Master was very funny. And there's not really that much to say about that one. Marco a little bit was being a creep, which is something. Star knows a bit about that after the what's his name, the clown episode, where she was spying on Marco and Jackie Lynn. But yeah, it was fun. It didn't have a ton of complexity going on, but I enjoyed it. I think that's about it. Slightly shorter one this time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out my Patreon for early access to vlogs, Let's Plays, essays, and more. And I'll see you all next time. Bye!